Guys, I saw another TMZ drop. I really don't want to be going back and forth here, but so again, you see that there may be some conflict. They mentioned between LAPD and the medical examiner's office, and of course, there's LAPD calling TMZ out. TMZ saying that the body was partially frozen, that it's coming from sources from the medical examiner's office, and LAPD, which is the lead in the investigation, is saying that's not what it was not a partial frozen body. And we're talking about the young Celeste Rivas Hernandez. So I'm going to show you a video. Right now, I'm going to use my phone to show it to you because my internet connection on my computer is acting a little funky. But I wanted to mention something. Remember, LAPD is the lead. Even if the medical examiner and LAPD, they may not get along because that's the narrative people keep on pushing. They're two professional agencies. I mean, hopefully two professional agencies are not in such a bad or negative state that they choose personality conflicts over what should be done correctly for the victims. And they also mentioned something about waterlogged, and they lean on a source from the medical examiner's office who said that the fingers, got the exact words, were waterlogged, which means at one point the body had to have been frozen. I looked it up. I'm not an expert, so this is just more of maybe engaging in some dialogue in the comments. But I just want to read something off to you real quick about the waterlog. So when you see it, there may be another way of looking at this. So they're going to use the waterlog thing to say that kind of guarantees that the Celeste Rivas' body was partially frozen. And that's their push. And again, it comes from a source. But it says here, decomposition produces fluid, a lot of it. So again, if you got someone that's been in a trunk for a couple of weeks, and that's what we've confirmed, then when a body decomposes, it releases purged fluid, liquefied fat, blood breakdown products, and cellular fluid. These fluids collect in whatever direction gravity takes them, usually the lowest part of the body. And in a frunk, when an enclosed, hot and unventilated, in a frunk which is enclosed, hot and unventilated, these fluids pool beneath and around the body, cannot evaporate, stay warm, speeding the breakdown of skin. Hot LA heat makes this process much faster. Inside a frunk in Los Angeles sun, temperatures can exceed 130 to 170 degrees Fahrenheit. Decomposition accelerates drastically. Body fluids are produced rapidly and in large volume, and this creates the perfect environment for moisture plus heat plus pressure, which equals skin maceration. Exactly the same process you see in drowned bodies. Can those fluids waterlog the fingers? Says here, yes. Decomposition fluids contain plenty of water along with enzymes and bacteria that break down skin. When fingers sit in these fluids for days to weeks, the skin undergoes maceration, that's softening, water absorption, pale, swollen fingertips, wrinkling, washerwoman changes, that's what's called, loss of ridge detail, and skin slippage. I do want to mention something real quick. If they do have a source, and the source said, hey, the fingers were waterlogged, I wonder if someone then at that point from TMZ decided to make the assumption this is what it was. Let's look up waterlogged means. Oh, waterlogged looks like it could be frozen. So maybe they added that caveat there. It's possible. If waterlogged was what was mentioned, and there's no context there, they look it up, make their own assumption. So maybe the medical examiner said it was, or some source from the medical examiner said it was waterlogged, and they went ahead and made the assumption that the body must have been partially frozen. So they could have ran on an assumption. So again, this looks virtually identical to waterlogging from bathtubs, lakes, wet environments, or flood victims. The cause is different, but the appearance is the same. And again, a body in a hot frunk for weeks can look moist, soft, wrinkled, waterlogged looking, impossible to live scan. This is because decomposition itself creates the liquid that causes water damage. You do not need a lake, bathtub, or rain. A sealed hot environment with a decomposing body is enough. Could this be mistaken for frozen when thawed? Yes, both freezing, thawing, and decomposition fluids can destroy fingerprints, create slippery skin, cause slippage, or blur ridge patterns. A non-expert might easily describe either scenario as waterlogged fingers. Again, I'm not an expert. This is just meant for food for thought in the comments. But I want to show you some of this video. I'll stop it a few times. But guys, I got to do it this way. Bear with me. My internet is a little freaky. But here. Should be able to hear it. And I'm going to stop it a few times.
An LAPD captain is disputing part of a story that we broke over the weekend. A story about David, the singer David, and the body that was found in his Tesla, that body of Celeste Rivas. And the part of our story that we broke over the weekend was that that the remains of Celeste were partially frozen when they were found in the Tesla. This was back in early September, first week in September, when they discovered this, when David's car had been towed to an LA tow yard. Well, the LAPD captain is saying that the body was not frozen. Herein lies the issue.
So now this is when Harvey Levin's going to come in. He's going to, his sources. But remember, his anonymous sources, I don't care where their connections are, they're anonymous sources. This is LAPD, the lead in the investigation. At the end of the day, you have to assume they are connected, and it's a safe assumption, working with the medical examiner's office, and the medical examiner is working with them because they have to. And they have to keep a professional relationship. They can't let conflicts get in the way because, again, if conflict gets in the way and it unfortunately messes with finding justice for her, both agencies are screwed. So this conflict thing is basically saying that personality conflicts supersede professionalism, and they shouldn't. And I'm assuming that there's layers of supervisors or layers of management that would make sure that doesn't happen. We have personality conflicts all the time where I work, but it doesn't supersede professionalism. At one point, if we feel it does, you address it immediately. I believe there's a lot of dialogue that LAPD has had with the medical examiner's office, and that's why they can go out on the media. Remember, they've been quiet the whole time. So they're being pushed out there. So I'll guarantee you, when they're being pushed out there, they got something to say. And in their mind, because they know a lot more, they're not going by just sources. They're working directly with the evidence. They can clearly say it's not frozen. It wasn't partially frozen. And to challenge them, but not just that, to challenge them here like this on a public platform. This is not about Celeste Rivas anymore. This is about being right and being wrong. That's all this is about now. There's no justice here. This is just one side wanting to tell the other side you're wrong.
We have a very well-connected source connected to the medical examiner, the LA County medical examiner, which currently has the body. And that source has doubled, tripled, quadrupled, and sextupled down, actually, now, saying that the body was indeed partially frozen when it was received by law enforcement. So
we don't know who that source is, whatever it is. We don't know that. Of course, he emphasizes because they currently have the body, but we don't know who that source is. But LAPD, they've been quiet the whole time. And when they came out this time, I think it's because they've been pushed out. I think they're tired of just the narrative going all over the place, which is messing with their investigation. I mean, you know, not just TMZ, but also SF Investigates, all those different things. You know, it probably making things a bit more difficult. Remember, I'm in the law enforcement biz, so I do have a connection to law enforcement. I do. You know, I think we go through a lot of unfair generalizations, even in my profession of corrections, and I try to see if I can provide some level of understanding. I did that when my channel first opened, even when I was doing just the correctional stuff. But with that said, here, LAPD is the main source. They're the ones that are taking the lead. And right here, saying that I have this source who doubles quicker. Okay, but we just got told that from LAPD, the lead investigation. I think this is a way just to, you know, outside of causing mystery and views, and it's making us want to second guess the lead investigators or the lead investigation, the people that are doing it, to doubt them so another narrative could be created. I think there's a concern to control this narrative. So why not put doubt in the lead that's doing it? And it could start off with something small. Remember, guys, change is subtle. You start with something small, doubt starts to creep in, then eventually, before you know it, you doubt everything. So these are little subtle things. And again, I really think it's adamant that, if they're challenging LAPD because LAPD said, hey, that's not true. This is what it is. We're in charge of the event. And then they put this on national attention, national media. Again, this really has nothing to do with Celeste. This has something to do with them wanting to either control that narrative or maybe they have some beef with LAPD. Maybe the conflict is really between them and LAPD, because if the medical examiner and LAPD are in conflict and they're not in agreement, I will guarantee you officially that's not going to leak. What they're getting is gossip. What they're getting is probably stuff that's just not verified. Just people hey, by the way, I heard a little dialogue today and blah, blah, blah. And they run with it. They run with it unverified. It's a tabloid. But when you literally have LAPD saying, guys, this is what it's at, pull back now. We just told you this is what it's at. And then we want to put out another video and challenge that, guys, stop. Because some of us here are trying to make sure the narrative stays where it belongs. And right now, it's got to go in the hands of the lead investigation. Can we give them a chance? Can we give them a chance? So I go to put my feet up, and then something else comes out, and I'm like, damn. And I figure if you sit on it too long, it's going to create that momentum. It's LAPD. They're doing the investigation, and they just went out for the first time to discredit that. I mean, absolutely discredit it. Even discredit, I saw in another video, the trip to Santa Barbara County to some extent. I mean, these guys were quiet the whole time. So when they're discrediting now, I'm assuming there's clarity. I'm assuming 100% before they went on air, they did cross their T's, dot their I's, and they talked to an official source from the medical examiner. And when they went and said, hey, that's a captain. That's not an officer that's talking. That's not a sergeant. That's a captain. That's high level. That's someone that has resources everywhere. So when he comes out and he's adamant that this is what it is, he didn't say it could be frozen. We don't know. He said it wasn't frozen. And I'll guarantee you that captain did his due diligence. You know why? Because he had to filter that communication through the public information officer and everyone that would be connected to his chain of command before he goes out and releases something. They crossed their T's and they dotted their I's and they said, you know what? We're good. Challenge it. We're done with TMZ. Go out there, give that statement, be done with it. So I have to go with the LAPD because they have the integrity for the investigation. They have to protect it. But there would have been so many layers. And my mind would be totally blown. I'm not saying it can't happen. But my mind will be totally blown that they were allowing a captain to go through, to finally speak up and to be totally wrong. I think this really here is confusion, just whatever game they may want to play, but maybe on the slide, putting doubt in the lead investigation. So then, hey, if the evidence may look this way and we have a feeling LAPD is starting to close in, let's cause confusion. Let's cause doubt. So let's cause confusion about the case. Let's cause doubt to the lead investigator. Because that's what defense attorneys do. Defense attorneys, if they know the evidence against them, what do? They may push blame. They may minimize. They cause confusion. They cause you to doubt credibility of the person who's the lead. This, to me, is what you were finding in court.
That's kind of interesting, but the medical examiner is just telling a different story.
Wasn't a medical examiner, it was an unofficial source.
The sources we have, and we have sources in all camps in this.
Yeah, of course.
there's a conflict here. We've heard that there's been this conflict between LAPD and the medical examiner. There's been tension for several years, but this is kind of it.
By the way, again, tension over what we don't know and professionalism versus personality conflict. I'm sure they've been able to work it out because this is not the only case they've ever had. They do other cases. So I find it hard to believe that conflict between the two departments would literally lead to lack of justice. Again, it's confusion. It's what they're doing in my mind.
Interesting. One of the documents at the LA County Medical Examiner's Office has an interesting statement. This has to do with trying to fingerprint Celeste's body. It says the decedent was not live scanned due to waterlogged fingers.
I just broke that up at the beginning of the show, so I'm not going to reiterate that. But basically, that could happen, I believe, if the body was seriously decomposed and just in the water, the fluid of decomposition. But again, if someone's medical, maybe you could see if that's correct or not. I only did my research. I'm not a medical professional, but I think it's good to put it into the comments and we grow as a community.
Well, that's kind of interesting. Right. Why would the fingers be waterlogged? Well, certainly if the body had been frozen for quite some time and then is sitting in a bag in this Tesla out in the blazing hot summer sun.
He just answered himself, in a bag in the blazing hot sun, the body's melting. I mean, that's it, sad to say, but that I think could cause it. But again, if you're a medical professional, let me know.
Yeah, you would imagine that there's going to be some water in that bag. So there's, you've got to kind of like look at the big picture here. So we told you that even though there has not been a cause or manner of death determined by the medical examiner, and there may not be because of the state of the body, the LAPD is operating under the assumption that this is a homicide and that David is a suspect. And there is an accomplice.
There it is, guys. You saw that? Poses doubt. There's doubt there. He poses doubt because he says, there'll probably never be a determination, but the LA Homicide is working on the assumption that it could be a homicide. I think that's a good assumption to work off of, to be honest with you. Worst case scenario, that's what it could be. You want us to start with the gentler side? No, they know things. And it may not just come from the autopsy results. How do we know we don't have anybody that said something? We don't know. I mean, if the body is showing up undetermined, whatever manner, I have a witness. I know it will be tough, but I have a few witnesses here. And at this point here, these witnesses are immediate to the incident. And this is what we have been informed on. So you don't know it. Maybe everything right now is not really reliant on the autopsy result, because maybe LAPD realized, hey, listen, we may not come up with anything here. So let's get those witnesses. Let's get on them and see what they can tell us. So we don't know what they know. So the outcome of a manner of death may not be based on what we're waiting on the autopsy, even though it's very important. I'm not saying that, but maybe their assumption comes from leads. And enough so that they can go ahead and maybe try to push that narrative to see if it fits.
Operating under the assumption that this is a homicide and that David is a suspect. And there is an accomplice, they believe, somebody who helped dismember the body. Now, there is a mysterious...
And the funny thing is here, he never says who the accomplice helped. So if you got one suspect that could be David, then... if you have an accomplice, who do we think the accomplice helped? No, we just the accomplice dismembered the body. Who did he help dismember the body? Could it be the suspect that you don't want to say?
Really important in this case, we're told, that David took to Santa Barbara in the spring.
Sorry, one last thing. Look at the qualifier there. He knows right now they're losing credibility on, because I think LAPD challenged the trip to Santa Barbara, colony, whatever it was. So now he says he's adamant, but then he puts in, we're told. So you have this absolute, but he knows he can't stand by that. So then he says, we're told, which lessens the absolute. So it comes off like it's an absolute power statement, but then he lessens it by qualifying it. Watch.
Now, there is a mysterious trip that becomes really important in this case, we're told. And there is an accomplice, they believe, somebody who helped dismember the body. Now, there is a mysterious trip that becomes really important in this case, we're told. That
By
David
who?
took to Santa Barbara in this.
Because LAPD, from what I saw in another video, did not say that may not be relevant. And here we are thinking all this stuff is relevant. That may be one of the other things that isn't relevant. So again, who is that? An unknown source? So again, but that's another thing we're told. Maybe he knew he was going to put that out there, but then he knew he couldn't stand on it because he's not confident with that. So he puts out a qualifier that you really can't prove or disprove. We're told. Unanimous source. How do I prove or disprove that? I think it's time where these medias have to start telling you where they're getting their information from, because there's nothing to stop them from making it up.
Spring of this year, in the middle of the night in a remote area of Santa Barbara County, spent several hours there. We are told the following, and this is based on sources, that the body wasn't buried, but the strong...
It's funny how some sources were intertwined with all sides and or medical examiner and now just sources. Whose sources? I mean, I again, they should be able to have to let you know who these individuals are, because if we're trying to construct a case, if I was LAPD, I'd come back and say, listen, TMZ, I need to bring you guys in because you've been talking to a lot of people that seem to know a lot about this investigation. So I maybe we should start subpoenaing you guys because you seem to know a lot. So how do I know right now that you could be trying to get information, but you also could be meddling with an active investigation? What's the motive for you guys? I would start calling them in. If you know all these sources that know all these things that happen directly to this incident and that are not that not LAPD, well, who are these sources? Who are you talking to? I think we should start bringing them in because they seem to know a lot about an active investigation, and maybe it's time we start interrogating them, because I still say it's funny. He told Celeste Rivas's mother that it was Celeste Rivas in the car. And I have a feeling, again, I can make an assumption, right? So I have a feeling through my source, why not, right? My source, that when that body was discovered in his trunk, someone gave him a call that was related to D4VD, and they said, hey, listen, that's the girl you're going to find. Help us. That's who you're going to find in that vehicle. Help us. And maybe I'm wrong, but that's my source. That's what my source is telling me. So why not? They can do it. Why can't I? It's plausible. You knew who the body was? Maybe because someone called you and told you who it was. For some reason, a 14-year-old runaway, I don't know why they would be on your radar randomly. How do I know that someone from that camp did not tell you that, hey, that body that you're going to find in my car or in my client's car is her? And then to do that and not go to LAPD, but to go to the mother, how do you know if the mother wasn't informed? You don't know if she was informed or not. What about if you broke news that they weren't ready yet to give out? That news should have been broken officially through the proper channels. Not saying it could be the case, but you don't know. And obviously this didn't happen, but you don't know how the body got there. So you know what? That information should have went right to the media. You shouldn't have done your own digging. That's what it was. That was digging. And they were the first comment. We broke that story. That's our story. And we told Celeste Rivas's mother. Wow, what a spin on that. But no one ever asked, how'd you know that was Celeste? Through a source. Yeah, through a source. Seems like a lot of these sources could be within that camp. Again, I don't know, but that's what my sources are telling me.
Insinuation that we got was that's where it was dismembered. So what happened to the body between the spring, if this is true, between the spring of this year and September when the body was discovered in the car?
Right. I mean, if this just a theory, I think that it would make sense.
Who the hell is that?
They went there just to not have a mess, and that's when they dismembered it, and then it was in a freezer for a long period of time, and then
it almost points to it must have been frozen, and I understand.
So I mean, I don't know about all that. Someone told me and this is true, on one of my comments, someone said that somewhere in Santa Barbara County, there's recording studios that people do late at night. So if anybody wants to check on that, but they could be a good chance, not saying he's innocent, but that he could have been at a recording studio late at night recording some music. May not have been, but that's another theory. But they're very adamant about this part, and that part right now, the Santa Barbara thing. Police say that's not involved, from what I heard, as part of this case. So maybe that's what they were doing, maybe recording something. But I'm hearing this part is not relevant. But there's some reason why they want to stick to it. Could be for views, cause confusion. I don't know, but I don't know who this person was that came out of nowhere.
LAPD captain is disputing this, but our sources insist 100% it was frozen. And that...
Actually, just one more question, guys. LAPD captain, sorry, guys, I'm energized, versus an unknown group of sources. An LAPD captain has a lot to lose, who've been quiet the whole time until now, which I'm sure the conversation has been filtered through all his connections, PIO and everything, versus an unknown source. It doesn't balance.
Partially frozen when the body came to the DM's office.
It also makes sense with the state of decomposition, right? I mean, from spring to when it's discovered in September, when the body is discovered, they say it's in a state of decomposition, but the waterlogging, all that stuff indicates frozen at some point, whether frozen when they actually pull it out or not, because the state of decomposition of a human body from the spring to the summer would be really pronounced. You wouldn't see fingers and things like that, even to live scan in the first place.
Yep.
I don't even want to go as far as saying, yeah, we know it's frozen, because we don't. This is what we're told.
Okay, but you just heard that, but yet you'll publish it. So they just said here, I don't want to go as far as saying it, but you published it. You published it, though. I mean, that's horrible journalism then. You just said, I don't want to go as far as say that, but you published it. You published it. So you don't even back what you're saying before you publish it?
Really pronounced. You wouldn't see fingers and things like that, even to live scan in the first place.
Yep.
I don't even want to go as far as saying, yeah, we know it's frozen, because we don't. This is what we're told. We've got sources, in the investigation, and we have told you appropriately, I believe.
Ain't that, sorry, guys, I'm sure you guys watch. Ain't that great that you could put whatever you want on the media and just say, someone else told me? Who? I can't tell you. But this is the information we were told. I think if you're starting to get information leaked your way like this, then you should go to official sources and try to see if any of it makes sense, if anything could be released. And if it can't, don't release it. Because that's how shit like this happens. And that's also how you freaking violate the integrity of any investigation. So you start getting leaks, make an effort to confirm. Because when these leaks came out, I don't see nothing like I spoke to LAPD. No. Stop running with the leaks. This is really just chasing the headline, controlling the narrative. Just put something out there. Get those clicks. But it's a body. It's a human being. It's Celeste Rivas Hernandez, her family. And we're just chasing with these narratives.
Or sources in connection to this. But I don't know how you put the dots together, connect the dots of spring, say it's April, May, June, July, August. That's 4 months. What happened to the body during those 4 months?
By the way, the 4
warmest months.
Yeah, exactly.
In Southern California.
And it would start to smell. The fact that...
So guys, this is their confusion, mystery, all that stuff all rolled into one to try to get dialogue and try to get the clicks and try to get the views. This is all it is. I mean, I'm falling for it right now just to challenge the video, which I'm sure they want happening too, because either way, a click's a click.
According to the tow shop.
Right, no, at the tow shop. Right, at the tow shop, yeah. Right, but I think remember how long the Tesla was parked on the street? I think that it would have started emitting some sort of, I mean, I'm not a scientist, but some sort of smell before it was eventually towed away.
And obviously, the one thing we can't explain is, how does the body end up in that car? Yeah, how does the body end up in the Tesla? How? I mean, obviously, someone placed it there, but we can't. Why they would have done it?
It's really dumb.
And the body on top of that was also a process. It was dismembered. There's a lot of factors that go into complicating this issue a lot, right? There's the potential freezing. There's the parts all over the place. It's a very, very sad story. At the end of the day, some of these you see like what belongings she had, what she's wearing, things like that.
Right.
So the one thing that I was told by one of the sources
One of the
is
sources I was
don't
told.
necessarily use logic to try to understand this.
That's kind of like their disclaimer. I could say whatever I want. So I'll say what I was told by a source, and then I'll just say whatever I want. That's pretty much, I could do that all day. Hey, I was told by my source that this is all to cause confusion and clicks. I'm not going to tell you what my source is, but must be true.
That keeps ringing in my head. I remember when you said that, and it's been ringing in my head ever since finding out that the source said that the body was partially frozen. Then that leads me to, why was it placed in this car? And I just kept hearing that in my head, that a lot of this, there's part of this that is not going to make sense.
Right.
Hi, my name is Fiona Nunley from Orlando.
So anyway, that's my thoughts. It gets frustrating because at the end of the day, you're trying to look for that straight path, and then there's always someone trying to put a detour in it. And then at one point, the drivers, which is us, the community, the people that care, should take the wheel from the bullshit, and just not let them know we're entertaining it to a point that we believe it. I think it's okay to kick back and kick it back and say, nope, not believing that, and let them know. I mean, people are doing that on social media now anyway. Come on, TMZ, stop. But they're going to keep on pushing it. But I think eventually they'll push themselves into irrelevance. That's what they'll do. They'll push themselves into irrelevance. This is really just what I would see in a defense case where the evidence is stacked against an individual. So let's cause confusion. Let's blame. Let's minimize. Let's question credibility of the people that have the evidence and control. In the end, if the path is so simple, let's make it a bit more confusing, so people don't make the decision that it's obvious, because that's what happens when the decision is so obvious. I'm going to make it a bit confusing. Oh, there's no logic. No, I think it's straightforward. And I think all these other detours are just confusion or mystery that you may have your own agenda for. And that's just my opinion, but I'm also being told by that from my sources. So, as always, guys, stay safe.